Hey 49ers fans, I'm Thomas Mott. Welcome into Chat Sports, and today, the long-awaited, much-requested 49ers mailbag video where I went through and got to nearly every single one of your questions on YouTube, and I say nearly because this was the most questions we've ever had submitted for 49ers mailbag on my most recent News and Rumors video, and so again, didn't get to everybody, but I got a giant list of questions here that we're going to go through one by one. Again, my name is Thomas Mott. You always follow me on Twitter, @RealThomasMott. Submit questions there to be answered as well. I want to start, though, quickly with the breaking news out of San Francisco today, and it is not a good overall health day for the San Francisco 49ers, as Nick Bosa and cornerback Jason Verrett were both diagnosed with ankle sprains. Now, could have been a lot worse, because ankles can be, you break an ankle, whatever happens down there. A sprain is not as bad as a broken ankle. But the fact that it's Bosa, the fact that it's Verrett, is not a very good sign. And John Lynch actually confirmed just a couple minutes ago, depending on when you're watching this video, that Bosa will miss the entire preseason, whereas Verrett, the timetable is still unknown. So again, listen, not as bad as a break or a tear, but ankle sprains and high ankle sprains can especially linger, and you can carry that throughout the entire season. It's basically playing with pain and how you can manage it. So, not an overall good day in terms of Nick Bosa and Jason Verrett. Verrett was most likely not going to be the starting quarterback, because Witherspoon and Richardson are both there, but he's still the third best corner on this team and has a history of injury problems. And of course, we all know about Nick Bosa. We talked about that a lot on this channel. Not a good day, but it could have been worse. Just wanted to give you guys the breaking news there. I hope Bosa's healthy and ready to go, because we need him this year. Okay, enough of the news here. This is the mailbag video where I answer every single one of your questions, at least as many as I could have. Let's go ahead and start with 12 Tribes Repent on YouTube asks, why is it that every video you continue to harp on if Jimmy G gets hurt? It's almost like you want it to happen. Well, obviously, I do not want Jimmy Garoppolo to get hurt this season, but at the same time, he's coming off of a major ACL injury, and of course, he had the sprained AC joint in his throwing shoulder back in 2016. He's not an injury-prone quarterback, and I hate that word. Like, people say Carson Wentz is injury-prone. No, you just got unlucky, right? Injuries can happen at any time. But at the same time, we've never seen Jimmy Garoppolo in more than 6 games, and we're paying him $137.5 million over 5 years, okay? If you're going to be worth the money, which we all know that you are, you have to be able to be on the field for 16 games every single year if we're going to pay you that much. And that's why I've harped on it a lot on these videos, because to me, if Garoppolo does not play all 16 games this season, then no matter what the reason is, now if it's 14 or 15, whatever, but you get my point. If he does 5, 6, 7, 8 this year, injured or benched or whatever, then you got to look at other options going forward in 2020, because we're paying him too darn much to actually not see him on the field. So no, I don't want him to get injured. Obviously, if he's healthy all 16 games, I think possibly, be one of the top 5, 6 quarterbacks in the NFC, but we have not seen him for more than six games in his entire career. We're paying him a lot of money. Okay, moving on here. Let's see. Paul M. on YouTube asks, which receiver has the fewest dropped passes this camp? I've watched a few of those live look-ins and noticed that a lot of balls are hitting the ground. Well, I've not been keeping track of pass by pass in terms of who is dropping the most, but I can tell you from Tuesday's practice, here's all what happened with the wide receivers. Dante Pettis had a fumble. Kendrick Bourne dropped a pass that was immediately intercepted by Ahkello Witherspoon, and Deebo Samuel was unable to corral a perfectly thrown pass from Nick Mullens in the end zone. Just a little tiny snippet of what is happening at Niners camp with the wide receivers. I've been reporting this for weeks, and I see people in the comments going, oh, you're wrong, I'm reading that they're doing fine. No, the wide receivers have struggled so far in training camp. Dante Pettis, obviously, with drops. Kendrick Bourne, as well, is having trouble with drops at the same time. Now, they have their moments, right? Goodwin catches a touchdown pass, or, Samuel catches a touchdown pass. That happens, but the overall, I guess, outcome so far, everything I've heard from 49ers wide receivers in training camp is that it's been below average and unimpressive, and head coach Kyle Shanahan spoke to that with the media a couple days ago when he was mentioning that they still have a long way to go. So I don't have the exact dropped amount. I do know that Jordan Matthews has looked pretty good. I think he's a lock to make the team. But the big one that I've reported many times on here, and people are upset that I'm doing it, is that Pettis has really struggled this offseason with drop passes, so keep an eye on that going forward. That's why I've said, Every single preseason game, you ask me what's the one thing I'm keeping an eye on, it's not the quarterbacks, it's not the defensive lines, it's literally the wide receivers. Whoever shines the most to me is going to have a real chance, depending on where they're at on the roster right now, to make the squad because it has been that much of a struggle. All right, Nick Southern on YouTube asks, do you think Solomon Thomas will eventually replace Arik Armstead on the interior defensive line this season? Maybe not this season, but can I say next year? Because Armstead is an unrestricted free agent next year. Listen, the official depth chart for the first preseason game came out a couple of days ago. Armstead is listed as a starter. Solomon Thomas is his backup. The stats between the two, again, last year was considered a nice year from Arik Armstead, and yet, what, 2 more sacks, maybe a dozen more solo tackles, 3 more tackles for losses, half the quarterback hits in terms of Solomon Thomas. So not like the stats jump off the page, but it's always been, the past couple years, that Armstead has been the better player. Not past couple years, but at least last year, Armstead was the better player over Solomon Thomas. Now, can Thomas have a good year? Yes, and I've heard he's been having a good camp. He'll get rotated in there, and we'll get to see him during training camp, or we get to see him during the preseason. If he plays well, sure, maybe he can replace him, but I see it as more as a, if he plays well, they might let go of Armstead after this season because he is an unrestricted free agent and keep Solomon Thomas going forward. But again, preseason, I think, will have a huge determiner on that. Okay, moving on here on the questions. Simon Whitehouse on YouTube asks, will our new punter make a difference to our offense and defense this year? Well, it's a good question, right? And I actually read just today that Mitch Wishnowsky, who of course is the punter we took pretty early in the draft this year, had a punt during practice that, wait for it, all you punting geeks out there, wait for it here, had a hang time of 5.6 seconds. Which, if you don't time punts for a living, like I do not do that either, I went into the research, this is very good, okay? 5.6 seconds in the air is a fantastic punt. So, you know, playing little jokes here, but will he actually make a difference? Sure, if you can punt the ball 50, 60, 70 yards and with the bounce and pin people back deep so it's 1st and 10 from their own 10, yeah, that's going to help the defense and help the offense, and maybe that is why we all were wondering why you picked the punter so high in the draft. It's because Mitch is actually pretty darn good. 5.6 seconds. Go outside and punt and time it. See how long it takes you guys to for the ball to come down, because 5.6 is pretty good. Awesome Boy 123000 on YouTube asks, do you think Nick Bosa is going to have a big impact on pressures for the quarterback? Well, as I started the video with, the injury concerns are definitely there. He's scheduled to miss the entire preseason. We don't know how many games he's going to miss in the regular season. I would argue, and I would bet money on the fact he doesn't play all 16 games. And that might not be a hot take, and some of you might be like, well, duh, Thomas, he has an injury history. But I don't know, you know, which fans think what. But I don't see him playing all 16 games. This was the concern with Nick Bosa going in. That's why I said I wanted Quinnen Williams over Nick Bosa. The injury concerns are real. If he's healthy, he's going to have a massive impact on the quarterback pressures, the quarterback hurries, the quarterback hits. But he's got to be actually on the field to do that. And I think missing training camp is huge for him because that was a time where, you remember, he has not played in a real game since back in September for Ohio State. That's almost a year ago. I love Nick Bosa. When healthy, he can be a very, very good pass rusher. But it's a matter of staying healthy, and I'm not sure, based on the most recent ankle injury, that he is going to be able to do that. Nathan Robledo on YouTube asks, do you think any of our running backs will get more than 1,000 yards rushing? Who is most likely to get it? Most likely is obviously Tevin Coleman, although I heard he's had a fumble problem in preseason or in training camp so far. But if I had to pick one, it's definitely going to be Tevin Coleman because he showed that he can be a true #1 running back whenever Devontae Freeman got injured in Atlanta last year. The problem is you got to start, you know, portioning out rushing yards between Breida, between Jerick McKinnon, whose knee brace just came off recently, which is good news, and Tevin Coleman. So if you go last year, like the #1 rushing team, I looked it up, it was Seattle, and they had 2,560 yards. Chris Carson had 1,100 yards, but then the other two backs, Mike Davis and Rashad Penny, combined for 933. So I don't think San Francisco is going to be the #1 rushing team in the NFL. So if you scale that back down to 2,000 yards, you split that by 3 players, you can see how the math works out there. It's about 850, 870 yards per player. I don't know if anyone gets 1,000 yards, but if someone does do it, it will be Tevin Coleman. But at the same time, the running back group is very strong. I just think it's so strong that you're going to be rotating guys in and out because Breida needs to get touches, McKinnon will need to get touches, and then obviously Tevin Coleman will need touches as well. It's a good question, though. Jordan Rice, must be the son of Jerry Rice on YouTube, asks, hey, Thomas, do you believe let's say worst case scenario, Jimmy Garoppolo goes down for the season. Pause. It's not just me thinking it, okay? Earlier question, remember? The season that we could... Okay, so if Jimmy Garoppolo goes down for the season, we could run the table and get a wild card spot with Mullens at quarterback with a stout defense and new offensive weapons. My straight up answer, no. No, I don't think so. And it's that simple, okay? Listen, Nick Mullens, yeah, he's at the 3-5 record. Yes, he flashed a little bit last year, 13 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. But teams are not built to win with backup quarterbacks. Nick Foles, I've said this before, Nick Foles was the exception to the rule. The Eagles were built to win without Carson Wentz. They had all the tools to win, and that's why Nick Foles was able to make a deep run. He also played lights out, right? Was the best quarterback, literally statistically, in the postseason 2 years ago. Other teams, literally any other team, is not built to win with a backup quarterback. And I think if Garoppolo goes down at any point this season, unless it's week 16 and we're already locked into our wild card spot or whatever, then no, I don't see Nick Mullens taking us to a playoff because, listen, the defense is going to be good, but the offensive weapons, as I've said, the wide receivers aren't that great. So yeah, if you're going to be Kittle all the time and pound the rock, maybe. And if Mullens takes another step, maybe. But let's not put all of our stock into the backup quarterback being the savior here because, again, if Garoppolo goes down, as we have seen in the past year, it's probably not going to bode well for the 49ers, regardless of how well the team is playing overall. Moving on here, let's see. Jason Garcia on YouTube asks, what 49ers player will have a good fantasy value this year? Okay, I like that. Who would I take in terms of fantasy? Couple ones here. I would take the defense. Maybe not as a #1 overall defense, but I would definitely be like, okay, I can take a defense later on because no one else is going to take the 49ers. I can get them super late in my fantasy draft. That way I can still get other good skill players. So I would do the defense is going to be good. I would say Tevin Coleman would be a good running back #3. I wouldn't take him as a running back 1 or 2, but as a third option to rotate in there at the flex or rotate him in there whenever you're starting 2 running backs are out, I would go to Tevin Coleman. And then, of course, Kittle. Let's just get Kittle out of the way. You should take Kittle for sure. But if I was going to say this, I would give you a little bit of advice on taking a 49er wide receiver. Wait and see if any of them go. So, like, I think no 49er wide receiver should go in a typical 10-person snake draft, right? There are enough wide receivers to where you should not take one unless you took it, later on in the late rounds. But if none of them go, then wait on the waiver wire, wait for the first couple of games, see who Garoppolo has the most chemistry with, whether it's Pettis, whether it's Matthews, whether it's Goodwin, whether it's Hurd or Samuel, whoever it is the first couple of games, then jump on them in the waiver wire and you might have a steal because then you know that he is Garoppolo's #1 target. So again, if they're all still on the board and if you're in a 49er friendly league, you know they're going to be gone. But if you're in a normal league where other people are not as familiar with Niner wide receivers, because they're going to be ranked on the ESPN fantasy board way down, then just wait for the waiver wire, give it a week or two, see who Garoppolo's favorite target is, because we don't know yet, or maybe you learn this preseason, and then boom, pull the trigger, and you have a waiver wire steal. There you go, a little bit of help there. Okay, we got time for one more here. Let's see. Andrew Segrave, I think I said that right, on YouTube says, does Jalen Hurd play a major factor in 2019? Good question. I've gotten a lot of these the past couple of weeks. I keep answering them in the same basic way. I'm the foremost expert on Jalen Hurd because I went to Baylor and I was there when he was there, right? So I got to see what he can do. I think he has an impact this season, but not a major impact in 2019 because, again, we've heard the ups and downs of even him and the wide receiver group at training camp. I think he's going to have a couple of end arounds, a couple of jet sweeps, a couple of running plays that we all go, ooh, look at that. A couple of passes over the middle where he breaks a tackle and runs it deep for a touchdown. But he's not going to be a 9-touchdown guy. He's not going to be a 70-catch guy. He's not going to be an 800, 900-yard receiving guy. I think you have all those. 35 catches, 40 catches, 400 yards receiving, 4 touchdowns. Great year, okay? It's the progression that we're trying to build on, not the fact that he's going to be an instant impact this year. Because remember, he has 1 year of wide receiver playtime in college football. 1 year at Baylor. That was it. Now, it was good enough to get you drafted in the third round, right? But he's still learning a lot, and those Baylor wide receivers come out, and they got to learn how to run routes. Because trust me, when I'm watching him, he ran like 2 routes. A 5-yard stop, and then an over route, and that was basically it. So let's just pump the brakes on him being a major impact. But I think he's going to be a lot of fun to watch, and especially a lot of fun to watch to see what he does this preseason. Which reminds me, finally here, listen, first preseason game, August 10th against those darn Dallas Cowboys. Our job is to beat Tom Downey All right, we beat Tom's team. Then on every single Cowboys news and rumor report, videos, whatever, for the next week, you guys go and comment on those videos saying, ha ha ha, 49ers won. Shout out to Thomas Mott. He's the better Tom. Just kidding. I know Tom's the OG, but at the same time, it'd be nice to beat the Dallas Cowboys this week, so we shall see. All right, there you go. There's like as many news and rumor, or many 49ers mailbag questions as I could get into. Be sure to subscribe here and to our new Chat Sports 49ers official YouTube page, www.chatsports.com/49ers. That way you can get all these videos in your subscription box as soon as they are released. Plenty more to come next week, so be sure to subscribe to Chat Sports. For Chat Sports, I'm Thomas Mott, signing off. Enjoy the rest of your day.